Glory, to have your name remembered. A challenge, who wouldn't want it? Like so many others that had come before and considered it, my turn had finally come for a crack at it. I wanted it, and over the course of my erratic high school track career, I would find out just how much I truly wanted and would strive for these goals. These endeavors are what would end up driving me to get in shape for my newly discovered sport my younger self was gravitated towards, pole vaulting. Following winter conditioning sessions after school came around and I could barely contain my excitement, some of the time shouting and whooping about being restless to get back to the pit, back to the old grind, back to pole vaulting. And so the conditioning season was in like a lamb and out like a lion before I could even think twice about it. Spring veered its pretty head, and the season started off with a bang. With this, I was off to prove my worth to the team that was attempting to go back-to-back as state champions. Jefferson High School track and field was poised to score in every running, jumping, throwing, and relay event. And as weekly meets started up, that's exactly what we did. In the speeding blur of a season, we finally strived for what we considered to be the promised land of track. Lewis County High School, the host of our regional meet. I couldn't help but gaze off at the school's mat and standards. The track literally was quite elevated, being on the side of a mountain. It's as if it was saying, you've come this far and reached this high, now you've got to reach a little higher. Coming level with the track, I almost stumbled, trying to observe and soak up the scenery of the area. Pure athletes from across the region were stretching, running, and warming up in every part of the vicinity like a beehive. Never really seen many other track teams outside of the local ones we mostly faced from the Eastern Panhandle made observing these great teams with their best athletes all in one place that much more mesmerizing. An array of school colors brightened the field immensely. I couldn't wait to have our team's deep maroon and metallic gold uniforms join the hub. Stalling, watching others finish warm-ups, and more stalling. Finally, I hear my name for my first jump and saw the bar at 10 feet 6 inches. An easy height to start my campaign. I stepped to my starting spot, pole in hand, and looked down to my feet, then my hands on the pole, and then ahead, straight down at the box first, and then the pale yellow bar. It all came to me like second nature from there. Step, lower, speed up, spring. I felt the rush of wind follow me up as I inverted and pushed away. In midair, I couldn't help but notice a wide view past the track, giving sight to a deep valley which I assumed would be part of the Cheat River. I couldn't help but gaze mid-descent, especially with the wondrous weather we had that day. I looked down at the pale yellow bar, but it seemed yards below me. I was flying among mountains. I landed and looked back up at the bar with confidence. First one down, how many more would I go? 11 feet came almost just as easily, as did 11 feet 6 inches, each time coming closer and closer to where I peaked in the vault. My name began to be called more and more quickly as the competition was thinned down. 12 feet 6 inches came, a new height for me, and I cleared it, the bar closer than ever. A new personal record for myself. My coach gave me an excited pat on the back. I was pure ecstasy. The field was down to 5, including me. I was now to clear a height that I had hardly ever thought of, 13 feet. The number seemed almost magical. I stopped paying attention to the other vaulting and thought only of my matters at hand. Run, speed up, jump, invert, and push. The sequence repeated through my head like a broken record. Off in the distance I heard my name called, and suddenly I came back to reality. The sequence now repeated itself in real life. Run, speed up, jump, invert, and push. But only this time I felt a bump, and my heart dropped in its inverted position. The bar fell to the mat before I made it back down. I got up, and doubt began to set in. It seemed I was at the end of my rope for this meet. My coach talked, and I looked at him, but I wasn't actually hearing him, though. I nodded to him even though I knew not what I had to do, which was everything better. Twice more I returned to the runway. Run, speed up, jump, invert, and push. And twice more I fell to the mat with the bar already waiting for me. It was a good run, I said at the time, but sadly it was over. Between the gunfiring and other races starting, I blankly watched as the rest of the field continued their vaulting at higher heights from the bench since our best pole vaulter was still in the running for first. Applause from the crowd ensued as a boy hopped down from the mat and shook hands with the pit official. It seemed he had just cleared the winning height, 14 feet. Our other team's vaulter had remained in the competition the longest, shook hands with him. He finished second. I prepared to pack up the poles, but suddenly the official called me back up to the mat, along with the pole vaulter from Hedgesville, a school that Jefferson often faced in track. Apparently, we had tied for fourth, and that was the final spot to go to the state meet. My heart began to race. As the official told us the procedures, we looked at each other for a second. It was as if we were both thinking the same thing. We were both about to have the vault of our track careers. A vault-off was to decide the final state qualifier between us. It would start at the final height that we both cleared, which was 12 feet 6 inches. I was to go second out of the two of us. We both returned to our poles and got a final briefing from our separate coaches. As my new competition stepped on the runway, I felt my heart race even more. I hadn't paid attention to his vaulting and wasn't sure what to expect. I thought if he made this jump, the pressure would be on me then. I put the thought at the back of my head and started to feel the adrenaline flow back through my body. He took off, planted his pole, and inverted nicely. He jolted the bar a little, but it didn't fall. I grabbed my pole and watched as the official straightened up the bar for me. I took my place and let repetition take its course. Run, speed up, jump, invert. As I pushed, I felt the pole continue to unbend and felt the wind rush upward with me. I looked down at the bars, and it looked much further away than it ever had when I had first cleared it. I had it, and in that split second I realized that this was the best vault I had ever put together, and I could have easily cleared 13 feet with that particular jump. I was flying higher than I ever had before in the sport. Yet again, gravity started to take its toll on me as I began to descend back down to the mat. I noticed something, though. As I fell back down, I saw that I was going to collide with the bar on my descent. I tried to contort my body to dodge the bar, but looking back, I probably just made it worse. I stretched enough to where most of my body slid past it, but then I felt a particular large bump at my chest. From that moment I already knew, and shouted something sharp in anger. It was all sadly over as I met the bar down at the mat. Second chance, and I had squandered it. I sat up and looked at my coach. He was grinning widely at me, whooping about how high I had flown over the bar. He talked with such emphasis, but for most of it I wasn't listening again. He explained how I had not ran hard enough, which is why I had fallen into it. Not enough penetration into the pit. I walked with him to the pole case as he was explaining things to me. He said summer vaulting, which really got my attention. He had an area set up so that we could move our school's pit and vault elsewhere from the summer sun. As glum as I had just been, I couldn't help but get another smirk on my face over the idea of more vaulting, the one thing that I loved more than life itself at the time. It was barely noon, and yet I had had a splendid day. While I had not qualified for the state meet, I had gone through a grand learning experience. I knew what I needed to do and focused on my vault now. I almost forgot that I had achieved a new personal best, and Coach only fueled the fire of mass exhilaration in me when he said that he had ordered for more poles, bigger, taller, and stronger. New heights reached, new resources obtained, and new goals to conquer. This would only deepen the passion I had for the sport that I had become infatuated with, and I wouldn't have it any other way.